Before we start off with today's video, if you guys would like to join the Discord server, link will be in the description below and will also be in that pinned comment. If it has been more than 7 days, please use the latest video, as that's one of the links will be working. And of course, I would love to have you on this channel as well, so make sure to subscribe with that bell on and make sure to like the videos as well, and that will all help the channel grow. And yeah, let's get right into today's video. What's up guys, welcome back to another video. Today we are here with the Mk4 Škoda Fabia. Now if you're new to cars or just looking to buy this car, or any car for that matter, this is basically a small hatchback and it rivals cars such as the Fiesta, the Polo, Corsa 208 and all of that. And speaking of the Polo, because Volkswagen owns Škoda, it is of course based on the latest Polo. Now I say latest because the facelifted Polo came out in about 2021, and this also came out in 2021, and the Polo changed slightly in terms of its looks and equipment and prices compared to the pre-facelift, so this is based on the facelifted one. But anyway, it will be a cheaper option compared to the Volkswagen Polo. And while we're here, we'll talk about the Seat Ibiza, which is also based on the Polo, so you can kind of figure that as three musketeers. But anyway, besides all of that Volkswagen stuff, let's get into the video and let's see how the car fares. So when it comes to the outside of the Mk4 Fabia, so the front, I certainly like the way it's designed. Obviously it's not going to be as posh or as expensive looking and much design as the Polo, but I still like it either way. I mean, the grille, it's very similar but not to the previous generation of Fabia, which wasn't a bad car. The lights are a nice shape and basically everything just works and it all fits, and all the sizes, they're completely fine. I mean, it's no Butte, but it's no Hunchback of Notre Dame. The side profile I also quite like. It does kind of have a sporty feel to it, even without the Monte Carlo. I mean, maybe not the basic version of the Fabia, but you know, depending on which trim you go on to, it can look somewhat of a sporty car, even though it isn't. And you know, I quite like that in a car. And it's also got creases as well, and the overall design is, you know, a nice shape. The rear I definitely like as well. I think it's one of its best angles actually. The lights are a nice shape, and I just like how it kind of looks a bit sporty as well, but it is a nice looking car. I do definitely prefer the looks of this over the Polo for sure. When it comes to the inside, well, I really like this interior as well. One thing I would like to say is, if you look at the red accent that goes across on this particular one, you can see if you look on the left, it actually goes within the air vent. So it doesn't just stop at the air vent, it goes within it, and the air vent's placed on top. That does seem a bit cheap, like they've sort of just stuck it on, but I think it's a nice, I think it's actually a nice looking design really, and you know, adds a bit of touch and a bit of flair and a flamboyance to the interior. Not that many people care or notice, but I'm just saying. But anyway, back to the actual interior itself. It's, you know, it's nice looking. I mean, this obviously like I said, this one has red inside of it, so it does lighten it up, and it does have what looks like to be some sort of carbon fiber sway effect in the middle. But either way, you have your infotainment screen there, and you've got climate controls and air vents as well. Now, because obviously the gear selector isn't so low down, obviously the controls aren't too low as well, so that's a good thing. The infotainment screen does look a little bit low, but it could be a lot worse, and depending on which version you got is in trim level, obviously the sizes of the infotainment screen will differ. But overall I would say it is a nice looking interior, definitely on par with the Polo. And this car, don't forget, is cheaper than the Polo. Might not be by too much, especially considering what life is like these days, but you get the point here. When it comes to the performance, so first things first, you've got no diesel. So if you wanted a diesel, unfortunately this is not the car for you. I mean, some people may want a diesel, but when I say some, it's probably the rare minority that want a diesel. But anyway, you've got a 1 litre naturally aspirated one called the MPI, 64 or 78 horsepower. To be honest, even if you're just driving on town, or even if you're old, I wouldn't bother with the 64 horsepower. It's pretty much as gutless goes, really. The 78 horsepower is fine for when you are in town or if you are a new driver, because it's not a lot of power, but it's still enough to be able to keep up with traffic. Then you got a 1 litre TSI, which had 93 horsepower, but then it had 108 horsepower. But then when the car was revised slightly, believe it was done this year, it had been upped to 114 horsepower because the engine had been revised. And then you got a 1.5 litre turbo engine with 147 horsepower. So what we're going to do is we're going to take one from each, and that's it. Otherwise, like I said many times before, we will be here forever if we don't. So when it comes to the naturally aspirated one, I chose the 78 horsepower one, the one with a bit more power. So it is a 1 litre with 3 cylinders, and it has 69 funny number pound-feet of torque. It is front wheel drive, of course. Oh, nearly lost my voice. Anyway, weight is 1060 kilograms, so it is a relatively light car, and gearbox is a 5-speed manual, no automatic at this point here. 0-60 is 15.2 seconds, so even this one is not rapid. But if you are if you don't drive much at all, or if you're just driving in town all the time, this is completely fine. And top speed is 108 miles an hour. Now, if you do a mix of both, then you should get a turbo version. So this one is also a 1 litre and 3 cylinders, but this one particular one is the 108 horsepower one before it got revised. So 148 pound-feet of torque and front wheel drive. Weight for the manual is 1098 kilograms, but for the 7-speed DSG Auto, which is a dual clutch system, it is 1114 kilograms. Did I say that? I hope I said that right. 0-60 and top speed, really, they're both very similar, with just the slight differences. So 9.6 for the manual, but 9.5 for the auto. And then 126 for the manual and 125 for the automatic. And then you got the most powerful one, the 1.5 litre inline 4-cylinder turbo with 147 horsepower and 184 pound-feet of torque. Now I believe this one has cylinder shutdown, where it can shut down 2 cylinders to save fuel. Read that somewhere. Front wheel drive, as usual, like the others. Weight is 1164 kilograms, and gearbox is only a DSG Auto, so unfortunately you don't get a manual option for the most powerful version, which is a shame. I mean, you know, even though it's not a sporty car and this isn't a sporty VRS model, it is the most powerful in the range, and I do think a manual would have been nice, but you know, who am I to say? I'm not Škoda or Volkswagen. 0-60 is 7.7 seconds, so it is, you know what, decently quick for that kind of car, and the top speed is 137 miles an hour. Now, when it comes to the practicality, one thing I would like to note is that it was about 11 centimeters longer than the previous generation, which will help in something. But this here, the boot, is 380 litres big, and that is one of the biggest in its class. That is pretty huge, bigger than the Seat Ibiza and bigger than the Polo. Now, you can see hooks dotted around the place, and it is obviously a versatile boot, because you know it's deep, it's wide, and it's got hooks, and then Peugeot's got more options there as well. So it's a nice boot that you can utilize. The rear leg and headroom, well, leg room, like I said, because the car was a bit longer, that was obviously, you know, it was good for this class of car, and the headroom was also quite decent as well for this class of car. So if you got any taller than 6-footers with you, then fitting 4 should just about be okay. I mean, they shouldn't be complaining. They should have just enough or plenty of enough room, depending on, you know, body sizes and how they fit in your driver's seat and all blah 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 blah. Fitting 3 would be a bit of a struggle, but if you needed to, you could just about do it. When it comes to the handling and the comfort, so comfort first, think of it as the 3 Musketeers. So you got the Seat Ibiza, which is a more sporty version. You got the Polo, which meets in the middle, and then you got the Škoda Fabia, which is more of a comfort car. So as a result, the ride was very well refined. It was very comfortable indeed, very soft, very plush. Obviously, you would feel slight bumps in the road, but otherwise it was a completely comfortable car and much better than the Polo and the Ibiza. Now, when it comes to handling, Obviously, because it has soft suspension, because obviously this is more of a comfort car, body roll was, you know, more noticeable around the corners, and as a result that would impair the handling. And handling was okay, let's put it that way. The steering, it was there. Yeah, it was there certainly. I mean, you couldn't go around the corner if it wasn't. But anyway, the point being that it would give somewhat of feedback and, you know, somewhat, you know, responsiveness. This is just what I read anyway. I'm trying to explain myself, and I'm struggling with this for some reason, and I don't know why. But it can hold its own during a corner. I mean, it's not gonna fall over and cry. You know, when you go through a corner, it might just be, you know, less composed than the Polo and the Ibiza and any of its rivals. Is there anything else worth noting? Well, considering I told you it was the Mark IV version, and that it's based on the facelifted Polo, and that the engine got revised, I believe, this year, I really don't have anything to say. So we will move on. So what is the verdict? So the pros are, it has a modest exterior. The interior is nice enough anyway for me. There's a whole range of petrol engines for you to choose from, so you are pretty much spoiled for choice. There is a big boot, I mean massive boot really, for its class anyway. The ride was comfortable. The leg and the headroom were also good. However, the cons are, now these aren't necessarily full cons in that con sense. Like for example, the diesels. Like, diesels are dying out now, and you know, not a lot of people want them. However, there might be a few people, the minority, who do want a diesel engine. So, I mean, I don't think the Polo comes with a diesel engine anymore, so I think that's why. No manual on the 1.5 TSI. I think that, you know, is a bit more of a con than the diesel. I mean, I know it's not going to be the most popular of options. The 1 litre turbo is most likely to be the most popular options, which has the manual and the automatic. But, you know, for people who do want the 1.5, I feel like a manual would be nice, even if it was just limited. And the handling, well, this car isn't designed to handle. I mean, it's a small hatchback and it's not sporty, and it's more based on being comfortable. If you want handling, you get the Polo or even the Ibiza. But anyway, that does conclude the review of the Mark IV Fabia. If you would like me to review a car, then you can let me know in the comments below, and I'll have a look at it, and well, then, yep, I have a car to review and I don't have to think of it on my own, so great. But yeah, that is really it, so I'll see you guys in next week's video. Peace.